2 News begins now.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Brandon T. Jones, and with the start of a new year, we're taking time to look back on some of the top stories of the past year here in the Inland Northwest. Here now is a look at some of the stories that made headlines in April of 2024.
I'm inside the Spokane Convention Center where more than 1,800 GOP delegates across the state have come together. And on this last day, endorsements were given out by the party for some major races.
The endorsed candidate is Semi Bird.
One of the biggest announcements on the last day of the Washington State GOP Convention was the party's endorsement for governor. That went to Semi Bird, just one day after chaos erupted when the party announced they wouldn't endorse a candidate at all for the race.
At this convention.
It's an honor. It's humbling, and it represents the citizens, and that's what means more to me.
Bird received 72% of votes from the delegates.
It's humbling, it's encouraging, certainly, but we're going to do it together. So that's the thing. It's now they're going to be side by side with me, and so I tell them to get ready.
This comes after the Seattle Times earlier this week revealed Bird pleaded guilty in 1993 to bank larceny for lying on a credit application. His opponent, Dave Reichert, a former U.S. representative and King County sheriff, said he no longer wanted the endorsement of his own party. Reichert says he was told his opponent would be disqualified, but then they changed their minds.
At some point, you have to make a decision to say, this is crazy. This is not a process that's fair.
Reichert says the whole convention has been chaotic and unfair. However, he is still running for governor as a Republican. Washington GOP Chairman Jim Walsh says this is the biggest convention the party ever had.
It's been great. It's been a little raucous. It's been a little loud at times, but it's been a real live convention.
Walsh says the decisions at the convention will have an impact for the party.
It's going to be a very interesting, very intense election season all the way through November, and this is going to be a good kickoff and one of the key steps along the way to November.
The convention featured multiple speakers, breakout sessions, and votes on various topics, including which delegates should go to the National GOP Convention in Milwaukee. Other major endorsements by the party include Pete Serrano for Attorney General, Dale Whitaker for Secretary of State, and Matt Hawkins for State Auditor. The Washington GOP Convention may be over, but in just 3 months, 83 GOP delegates will represent Washington State in the National Convention in Milwaukee. In Spokane, Nathan Hyun, KREM 2 News.
The Spokane Hutterite Brethren colony started unloading tons and tons and tons of potatoes here in Reardon on Friday. These are the potatoes they can't sell, and they didn't want to see them go to waste. So they're sharing these potatoes with their neighbors for free.
Head down this dirt road off Highway 2, and you'll find heaps and heaps of blessings. 250 tons of potatoes in this empty field all add up to one act of kindness.
Manna from heaven.
Yeah, potatoes from heaven.
Word about these spuds spread quickly online, leading hundreds of people to this spot, taking bags and even truckloads of potatoes home.
Oh yeah, I'll use them up.
Very cool of local farmers to do this.
The Spokane Hutterite colony says a significant percent of their potato crop won't be purchased by buyers this year. They say it's due to inflation and that many commercial restaurants already have an overabundance of potatoes.
I'm going to print it.
That's why these russets and Yukons are free for the taking.
They could have just thrown it in a field to rot, but it was their intention to give back.
There's no need to count your blessings here. Your neighbors hope you'll simply take what you can and share the rest. In Reardon, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 Plus Year in Review. I'm Brandon T. Jones, and right now we're looking back at some of the top stories of 2024. Join us as we go month by month through the year's headlines. Right now, we want to look at some of the top stories that made news in May.
It's been a yearly tradition for the Meade High School football team. Overnight summer camp held at Eastern Washington University. Last year, it took place June 19th through 22nd, students in grades 9 through 12 staying in on-campus dorms. But it was off the field that some players say things got out of hand.
It started off
with some hazing. The hazing had went from verbal and racial remarks all the way up to an assault or multiple assaults.
This man doesn't want to be identified, but he says he is directly involved with one Meade player who was targeted by older players on the team.
As more and more of the story came out, it was very evident that it was more than just hazing. There was more of an abusive side to this story.
But he says what is even more troubling is how it was handled by the school district in the weeks and months after. According to this case report from February 23rd, the father of one player contacted Eastern Washington University police about an assault back in June, indicating younger students were hunted down and targeted for hazing purposes by upperclassmen. The report states masked suspects came into one student's dorm room, grabbed another male subject, and began sexually assaulting him. Another police report from a different parent said the victim was held down by upperclassmen and sexually assaulted with a massage gun. This is cell phone video obtained by KREM 2 News from that night. We're not going to show you the actual assault, but you can see several teens holding someone down on the floor and this teen holding a massage gun. Both parents say this and other videos were widely circulated among Meade High School students on social media. They also both told police it was very probable more victims were also assaulted.
But nothing was reported to police until late February, 8 months after the Meade football camp. According to detectives, the Meade High School principal first learned about it on February 20th when social media videos surfaced showing the alleged assault as it happened. Now, authorities tell me the district immediately notified their school resource officer and also launched a Title IX investigation. And shortly after that, the Spokane County Sheriff's Office then took the lead in the criminal investigation.
According to state and federal law, anytime school officials become aware of an incident that could constitute sexual harassment, they must notify the district's Title IX coordinator. The district then has to investigate, and if it finds the harassment did occur, the school must take prompt and effective steps to end the harassment and eliminate the hostile environment. Meade school officials would not agree to an on-camera interview with KREM 2, but provided this investigation report saying the athletic director, John Barrington, received an email from a parent about 3 weeks after camp in July saying their child had a video that appeared to show an assault on a Meade player with a massage gun. But at the time, the school says the video only depicted laughing, shouting, and something resembling a dog pile, and that it was hard to determine what was happening apart from horseplay or roughhousing. The district says Barrington and head football coach Keith Stamps then agreed to talk to some of the students in the video, identifying them as team leaders. And according to the report, the students told Stamps they were just screwing around and that the targeted student said things were all good and that he had a good time at the camp. At that time, the coach and athletic director did not report the behavior to district administrators. In fact, the district says it wasn't until almost 6 months later a different parent showed them new videos that officials say showed a much different and clearer perspective of what had taken place in the dorm rooms. On December 11th, Meade officials say the high school principal was notified about the video amid concerns that what had happened back in June may be bigger than they thought. But then another 2 months went by, and it wasn't until February 20th that Meade says Principal Kimberly Jensen actually viewed those videos and informed the school's resource deputy, who then notified parents of the victims for the first time.
Are you concerned about how long it took for the school to notify parents about the video and what they had learned?
We're very concerned. Leads us to believe that the Meade School District staff was aware of it very quickly, actually had conversations within the school internally about the incidents, but for reasons only known to them, decided not to inform the parents of what they had learned.
What do you make of the portion of that report where it says the principal, Kimberly Jensen, had received the video in December, early December, but apparently didn't view it for 2.5 months until February 20th?
Well, you have to ask, why didn't you view the video if you were provided it? Aren't you concerned when you're getting parents reaching out to you that say that they're concerned about a sexually assaultive incident involving a massage gun that hopefully would raise more of a concern to a principal?
Marcus Sweetser is a Spokane attorney now representing 2 families who say their sons were assaulted during last summer's Meade football camp. He says in addition to that initial assault, the victims have also experienced continued harassment and retaliation by teammates.
I can tell you that one of the victims is no longer at Meade High School, and another victim has plans to be moving actually out of state.
What does that tell you about how this was responded to?
This incident is now a marker in time for this child's entire life going forward, the day that everything changed. And so what that tells me is these concerns were extremely significant and ongoing for these families.
Meade officials tell me they finished their internal investigation in late March, determining 2 students were assaulted during the EWU football camp on 2 separate occasions. Both incidents were reported as depicting the typical characteristics of hazing and, given the area of the body targeted, may represent sexual harassment assault. I asked if any of the students were disciplined as a result. District officials would only tell me each incident was dealt with on an individual basis, but admitted the videos showed a clear violation of the conduct expected from Meade students and athletes.
I don't think they did enough, and what I mean by that is when something as serious as this is going on, there needs to be an iron hammer, and so you have to, as a school, have to be able to understand that and have zero tolerance policy.
According to investigators, there was probable cause to charge 5 students, all under the age of 18, with 4th-degree assault. They determined there was no evidence of sexual motivation, so they did not pursue charges of sexual assault. And because none of the suspects had a prior criminal history and 4th-degree assault is a gross misdemeanor, they were all referred to a diversion program. That means the kids agreed to certain conditions, and Spokane County Superior Court agreed not to file criminal charges as long as they meet those conditions.
Over the weekend, a transgender East Valley High School student won the girls' 400-meter race in the state championship. The winner's sex was assigned male at birth. Some critics say it's not fair that she won first place.
Spring high school sports is coming to a close. Just last weekend, Washington State students competed in the track and field state championship. This is video a spectator shared with us of the girls' 400-meter race, where a transgender student from East Valley High School won first place. At the podium, all of the athletes cheered for one another. But when the winner's name was called, the stadium went almost silent, while the other athletes put their hands behind their back.
And they must have been hurting and seething inside.
Beth Duransiang shared these videos that she took at the meet. She told me she went there to protest a transgender athlete competing in women's sports. Beth is against this because she calls it a biological advantage.
Sports is not about identity. It's about pure physical competition, and it should be fair. And we have girls' sports because boys' biology advantages them in many sports.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I think if that's what she said, I think that means that everybody would compete together. Boys and girls would be running races together.
Former Spokane firefighter Maeve Griffith says she transitioned 8 years ago. She doesn't claim to be an expert on this topic and doesn't know this student's story. But Maeve does believe everyone should be able to compete with their gender.
I don't know this person's story. I don't know how long they've been transitioning. I do know that I don't think anybody ever transitions from male to female in order to win medals.
The Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, or WIAA, hosts the Washington State Championship. They say its gender identity rules went into place 18 years ago. To their knowledge, this is the first instance of a transgender student athlete winning a state championship title.
Now, we have reached out to East Valley School District to request an interview with the student. We'll let you know when she and her family responds to that request. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News. So right now, summer break is about 11 weeks long. With this new schedule, summer would only be 7 to 8 weeks. Now, this wouldn't add any more actual school days. Students would still be in school for only 180 days throughout the year. Instead, though, they'd get longer fall, winter, and spring breaks, plus an added midwinter break. Earlier today, I found some families to talk to about this potential change.
At Liberty Park, a more suitable name for Sharon Pepitone is Grandma.
My grandson is 5.5. He's going to be 6 in June.
He's in the Spokane Public School District, meaning he might grow up with summer vacations different than the ones we remember.
I think it would work.
SPS is calling this new potential schedule a balanced calendar. It's in between the traditional calendar and a year-round school.
Sounds like it would work great, but you'd still need to realize there's going to be parents who say, what am I supposed to do with my kids?
The district says their child care and nutrition partners are already on board to make the change. So overall, Grandma is supportive. She isn't just Grandma, though. Another name you could call Sharon is a former teacher.
When you give a kid 11 weeks, they forget things, and then the teacher has to reteach before she can teach the new things that the students need to know for the new year.
Another mom,
watch out, nice,
Erica Wegner,
love you,
says she agrees with Sharon.
I wrote my first paper supporting year-round schooling schedules in middle school myself back at Sacagawea way long ago.
Now she's actually doing that with her kids.
Yeah, so we've always schooled through the summer somewhat.
Erica has her kids in a hybrid homeschool public school program.
It always made sense to me to not have a huge break in the summer and have breaks year-round, because then you get to enjoy the inland Northwest in every season, not just the summer.
This plan is not set in stone yet. The next time SPS will talk about this will be in August, and if things do change, it wouldn't be until the 2026-27 school year. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Oh my God, I was not expecting this.
Breathtaking, otherworldly images from Canada, Ukraine, Switzerland, and England. And across much of the U.S., people witness streaks of pink and purple and green as far south as Florida.
Wow.
Sean Dahl, senior space weather forecaster for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, explains what we're seeing in the skies.
The aurora is when we get energized particles that have left the sun in more quantities than usual, and they interact with Earth's magnetic barrier.
Astrophysicist Noor Rawafi says this is the biggest geomagnetic storm in more than 20 years.
This one is pretty large. I think it's pretty extreme.
It's so large, it can temporarily disrupt satellites we rely on for communication and navigation, like GPS. Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are reporting degraded service.
Most of us have GPS on our phones. Is that something that could potentially be disrupted?
Yes, it could, because most of our phones are single-frequency GPS systems.
Aurora Borealis can even impact our power grid and cause blackouts, but utility companies took precautions.
I'm Brandon T. Jones, and thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for our year in review. We've been taking a look back at some of the big news stories from the past year in the Inland Northwest. And let's get back to it with some headlines from June 2024.
It's been over 36 hours since that fire sent first responders scrambling to put out the flames. What you see behind me is all that's left of what is now a shell of a building.
Rubble and debris are all that remain of Sergeant Jared Renault's office.
You see some of the offices.
After a Sunday morning fire burned down a Coeur d'Alene Police Department building.
And at the point that the firefighters got here, there wasn't a whole lot they could do, and the building is a complete loss.
The building housed the agency's IT department as well as animal control and code enforcement, along with much of their specialty equipment, including a SWAT vehicle, their incident command trailer, and riot gear. However, police say they did not store any ammunition inside the building. Sergeant Renault says the average person will likely see a minimal impact to their safety, but officers will feel the loss in their day-to-day operations, especially for the downtown and traffic divisions. That's because the fire burned all of the department's motorcycles and bikes, including their brand new e-bikes.
Obviously now they won't be on bikes, they might literally be on foot downtown. And so we'll still have officers downtown.
The fire comes at a tricky time for Coeur d'Alene Police. Sergeant Renault says the department outgrew their main building years ago. Now with this loss, they'll have to scramble to find space for everyone.
We'll be cramped, but we'll make it work and until we can rebuild and recover from this.
The Idaho State Fire Marshal's office is investigating the cause of this fire. Right now, police expect it'll take at least a week before the investigation finishes. In Coeur d'Alene, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
On a block rife with LGBTQ support, The voice of the few has been loud recently.
It was really sad and disappointing.
Kaylee Gaines McGee has worked at Atticus on Howard for 5 years.
And there you go.
So she's seen all the support.
Our shop in this street is so welcoming to everyone.
But she's also seen the hate.
It was definitely deliberate.
Most recently Wednesday evening while sitting on O'Doherty's patio.
We all looked over and just saw this group of teenagers deliberately making marks and scratch marks with their Lime scooters, just all around.
Several witnesses confronted the group and called police.
We're not going to sit by as we watch people deliberately commit a hate crime, right in the middle of downtown.
After looking at security footage, officers arrested 3 teenagers. 2 are minors and 1 is 19-year-old Ruslan Turco.
You are charged with 1 count malicious mischief.
Turco had his first appearance in court this afternoon. The judge released him under the condition he doesn't go near the crosswalk or the other teenagers. Prosecutors, though, had asked the judge to set a $15,000 bond since that's how much it costs to repaint the mural.
The community really came together to raise the money for them to be able to do it before the parade on Saturday.
Now this vandalism just hours after that repaint and only a few weeks after someone else set fire to the mural.
It sucks to be reminded in moments like this that there are still people out there that, have hate in their hearts for other people, so yeah.
But Kaylee wants everyone to know the love outweighs the hate here on Howard and through the entire city. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Early Sunday morning, Trooper Nick Daly got a call he'd never had before.
When I saw that, my mind kind of got lost in thought because I didn't really know what to do or what to handle just because never heard of it.
An unknown animal was running around a Yakima rest stop. The trooper was then told it was a member of the raccoon family, an exotic pet known as a kinkajou.
I thought that update was made. I thought it was a joke because my thought was it was some sort of Pokemon. I'm not a very big Pokemon knowledge person, but that's where my mind went to.
With the help of some Department of Transportation workers and a cardboard box, they got it in the back seat of another trooper's car. The Department of Fish and Wildlife ended up capturing it and taking it to the Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, where it's now under quarantine.
Poor thin little guy, he really is thin.
After a full exam, head veterinarian Dr. Karen Wolf says it's a young male, overall healthy, but underweight, and before it was sedated, very aggressive.
He does not like people. He has an attitude. He has very sharp teeth, the teeth that he has that are intact. He would make a terrible pet.
Trying to prevent it from running off, either getting lost, ran over, or becoming prey, because earlier there was a big crow that was circling around when it saw it. So I figured it was small enough to be prey.
Trooper Daly and investigators don't know where the kinkajou came from, if it escaped from a car or someone tried dumping it off. The trooper just hopes he helped out.
Later that day I was thinking, man, I only thought the zebras would be the wildest animal we saw here in Washington.
The kinkajou will remain under quarantine for the next couple of weeks while they wait some test results, but he will not be on public display, and they can't house him here at the Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium either. There is a search underway for either another zoo or maybe a sanctuary where he can live out the rest of his life with other kinkajous. In Tacoma, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
There are still a lot more months of news ahead. Keep it here on KREM 2 Plus to see the rest of the year in review. And don't forget, you can get some of the latest news and weather anytime here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look out for our most recent newscasts and the videos at the bottom of your screen. I'm Brandon T. Jones. Thanks for watching.